Woke up, tech talk, news flash, AI rolling in future in the dash. Digital dreams, holding safe. We got the vision, never out of sync. Circuit board buzzing, world of wire. Tech trends blazing, digital fire.
Hey folks, it's Mark here from the Digital Nexus podcast, also from Not Centralized. And I know it's been a while since we've had our last episode of the Digital Nexus podcast. Chris and I have been very busy, heads down, trying to build, travel, all that fun stuff. It is Saturday, the 22nd of February. Our time is flying. It's ridiculous. Can you believe it? We're almost at that end of the second month. If you haven't already liked, shared, subscribed, please do so. All your love and support, internet points, if you will, that all counts. I am here at home. Normally we'll be in the studio, but I'm just going to cover off a few quick things just so you get your fix of what we've been seeing in the news. Okay, first up, we've got this tweet thread here from John Rush. If you haven't already followed, make sure you do follow all of these. We will share all of this as well. He's got a really great thread in terms of covering all the different coding agents and IDEs. Now, if you don't already use an IDE, it might be like Bolt, it might be on your desktop with Cursor, anything that helps you code. There's a whole lot more people, apart from just me, that are not traditional coders. I worked with SQL, I was a data scientist, I was an analyst, I was doing all those fun things with visuals and numbers, but not typically a coder. I learned a long time ago how to do a bit of HTML, and I was using ClickView and ClickSense and doing mashups and then moving to Power BI, but they're all fairly limited. But thanks to coding IDEs, especially Bolt from StackBlitz, I was able to create the ETF tracker website from scratch. So that is just something if you want to know what you can possibly do. And I reckon that I'm not even that good at it, yet I could do that. So here are some of them, and he goes through just what he thinks about all of these. So with SoftGen, there's also Cursor, how it was a fork of VC code, or so you can go through all of that kind of stuff. He's got here Rapify, Windsurf, which is a very popular one as well. So I think it's worth checking this out, especially if you're thinking that, okay, I want to take that next leap from just the chatbot journey and actually getting into using all of this stuff and making things. And I think that whether it's websites only, it's mock-ups for things that you're going to present to clients and prototype, or it's you are fully building a full-on application like ETF Tracker or the new Oz DeFi website or some other stuff I'll show you later, then check out this thread. Then we've got this one here. This was Grok. So Elon and the team at XAI came out with Grok3, their benchmarks. And obviously you've got to take this with a grain of salt because it is their own ratings. I think by now there will be some independent ratings, and they probably are recording high. Each new system builds upon further knowledge of the others. We saw it with a whole lot of the stuff OpenAI did, and DeepSeek now, really upping the game. But take a look here. They've got their benchmarks, the math, science, and coding benchmarks. A little bit more detail. Robert Scoble, early investor in some great companies. Worth checking out him on Twitter. He's got a whole set of lists as well. So he's very active in the space. And so if someone's going to know what's going on in the space, it's going to be Robert. So check out this and the thread there. And then we had this thread from Sam talking about and dropping hints potentially that feel the AGI moment, as he mentions here, trying out GPT4.5, a bit of a Freudian slip there from me, but saying that it's going to, leave a feel the AGI moment amongst people. So worth checking out. He answers some of the queries that people have had. So is the update coming to voice mode? Not with 4.5, but we want to make it much better. Super important for future products. Now, if you've used voice mode, you may have felt a bit of the AGI moment, but definitely felt some of the frustration as well, as it doesn't quite do all the things or, react to the pauses that it needs to have. And it's just being added to. It's like early internet. We're only 2 and a bit years out. It was November 2022 when all of this really came out, even though it's been worked on in the past. There's definitely a glacier underneath, an iceberg underneath, but there's a whole lot more new stuff that's coming. This is the worst it will ever be. So something to remember there. Okay, another thread that was really interesting. And actually, it's funny because my brother is the one that pointed this out. He doesn't work in tech, but he uses a lot of the AI stuff. So shout outs to Pat. And what he pointed out to me, and I can see here with Andre Karpathy actually tweeting about it, was that the personality, the restrictions, the way that ChatGPT answers has changed. So they basically had this update. Andre talks about it being a little bit more chill, conversational, feels more like talking to a friend and a lot less like a HR partner. And I definitely get that feeling when I use it as well. This is one of the things that when Claude came out, I think it was even before 3.5 Sonnet and the different versions of that, like Haiku and whatever the other one is, people were talking about Claude.ai as being better for them because it was more conversational, more friendly, more feeling like you're interacting with someone else. And I think that that's great and really good to see that OpenAI and ChatGPT is coming out with that as well. And going back to Andre, and he speaks about here getting access to Grok early, and he runs this quick vibe check as soon as he got access. So a couple of things he says here, clearly has an around state-of-the-art thinking model, the think button, and it did great out of the box. He plays Settlers of Catan. I played that game a few times, was never good at it, but I know that there are some gaming strategists out there. So he gave it a prompt, as you can see here, create a board game web page showing a hex grid, just like in the game Settlers of Catan, blah, 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 blah. He highlights here, and it's great, visual. I like the emojis. What it did not do well, so it did not solve the emoji mystery question that he had. A question mark. It did solve a few tic-tac-toe boards, I gave it, with a pretty nice, clean chain of thought. But it failed on, some things, so generating nonsense boards and text. What it did work on really well, though, was he uploaded the GPT-4o paper, asked a bunch of simple lookup questions, and all worked great. And yeah, just more details there. So deep search, what he liked about it, what he did not like about it, and more. So worth checking out. Okay, and if you don't follow Ethan Mollick, the professor at Wharton School of Business on LinkedIn, then you definitely must. He posts a lot of good stuff for those of you that are looking at AI stuff on LinkedIn. Here he talks about organizational life about to get much weirder, and it's a paper that was released that talks about creating these meeting delegates, these things that you send agents that basically go into meetings for you. They use your voice, they use your knowledge, they know about your goals and the meeting mission. And yeah, really interesting. Will we see agents being sent to meetings on your behalf? I know of some CFOs and some other heads of business that they really don't like all the waste of time that comes with the meetings, like going in and just saying that, okay, well, we don't need to have this meeting because here's the points. If you can tick the box and do these, then that's fine. There's all this other kind of stuff that just definitely does waste time in terms of meetings. So I don't see why we shouldn't look at basically delegating some stuff or finding more efficiencies. But sending AI on your behalf, I think it's a potential double-edged sword, but well worth looking at this paper here, and it's generated a whole heap of discussion in the comments. So check out the archive link to the paper there and much more. Okay, so here's something I'm excited about, and just going back to that whole building of things. So this is something I've created from scratch, not centralized. We were part of a government task force led by Dr. Ian Opperman. I think it's doctor. If it's not, I apologize. But Ian Opperman, he was the chief data scientist for New South Wales government, worked with Victor Dominella very closely. He left and joined Victor at ServiceGen, and they're doing great things. And, definitely follow along Victor for all the great journey there. But basically, the task force was great. It brought together what was deemed, I think it was like the dreamers, the doers, and the dollars. So it was like academics, it was vendors, and it was government departments. And you can figure out who the dreamers, doers, and dollars are there. Ian came up with that. And the idea was to bring people together to have conversations and drive innovation forward. And it was really great. Once a month, we were meeting up, closed room. It wasn't recorded, and that's all good there. But I think that there is a building upon further of that, because if we just rely on, say, other institutions to basically bring that kind of thing to life, and if it's just like closed, then it's going to be harder to really drive innovation forward. We need education, we need conversation and collaboration. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard. So we're creating something, we're calling it the Emerging Tech Taskforce, starting off with blockchain and AI. And I know that there are other technologies like quantum and all that kind of stuff out there, but at least these two are very front of mind, front and center, and being worked on right now. So it's going to be, first of all, a whole lot of conversations, bridging these communities. And there's a lot of great people in those communities that you will see being conversed with. We're asking these questions, getting a painting of the picture of all of this kind of stuff, because we are, as it says here, building the future. So there's a few things here, what it means for the different groups. We've got Web3, AI, deep tech innovators. We've got the general public, very important, including them and helping them see these conversations that they couldn't before. And I'll show you what that looks like. We've got policymakers and government leaders, because we need that, whether it's the opposition or the other side of the aisle. And we need both, because eventually one or the other is going to be voted into power. And then university researchers, academics and all that. So that's very important. And then back to it, enterprise and industry leaders. There's a whole heap of stuff on this page which is not yet released. You can see the link there, but I might just blur that out in a little bit. We'll see in the video. But basically, what you'll be able to see here is the first part of our plan, which is having conversations. And in this first episode, I chat with Sarah Cow, who is from formerly of the CSIRO. She's a design thinker, leader, strategist. She's back at a company called Portable that she used to work with, leading AI conversations there. So definitely follow Sarah. But let me just show you what happens with these videos. So each of the podcasts that I do with, and not just me, but others that'll be part of the community will do, there's going to be basically these tiles. So here is, if I just move it, this is the first tile. This is going to be the first conversation there. When we open it up, it'll basically have these videos, and it's cut up into 3 questions that we did. And normally you watch a video and you just like wait for things to kind of happen there. This thing, let's see, it'll load up. We'll get the usual YouTube video as you do. There I am talking. There'll be Sarah here in a little bit. And it's great because you see you see these YouTube videos as you do. Great, you're learning, you're listening. But what we've done is embedded AI into this. So if we want like a summary, a study guide, an FAQ, you can even openly ask questions. So here's a place where you can type and ask questions. Let's click on the study guide though, because that is something that is just preset. While we're waiting on that, let's just listen to Sarah. So, you can listen along and watch, and then as that's happening, you've got these buttons that will help you. So here's a bit of a study guide about the concepts that were raised in this particular podcast. Like I said, you can ask your own questions as well, and you just stay in this moment. I started this with Sarah. There's going to be people from the blockchain space, the AI space. It's leaders, it's thinkers, it's doers, it's the general public as well. People's different perceptions, because we all need to come together to be able to do some cool stuff here. Okay, another thing to highlight is that from this piece in the mandarin.com.au, it's a Treasury trial of Microsoft CoPilot. Did not go so well. There is the full report that is raised here, and then they also have this article just highlighting the issues with AI. And this is Treasury using it. There was another one that was similar with, and this one it's CoPilot. So the vendor is Microsoft on the one side, and then it's Treasury in terms of the government department. The other one that I'd seen was ASIC doing a trial around the same time when you actually read the paper. And that trial was with AWS, both seeing how AI outputs compare to humans and getting mixed results. And as someone that works in the tech space and primarily with AI, it is easy to see where these things may fail. But the thing is, it's assuming that all we're going to do is just basically have AI that it's a button press and you just leave it alone, and it's supposed to do all these things without much human intervention, and that is just certainly not the case. Now, if the AI does not give you the right kind of response that you want, you just redo it. You roll the dice again, you tweak the prompts. The AI is a probabilistic kind of machine. It's just doing math behind the scenes. So what you've got to think of is, if you're not getting the right kind of results, then it might not be the AI. It's more than likely it's your input, the context that you're giving it. It's more than likely the execution steps, the prompts, the things that you're telling it to do. If you're not getting the right results, it's usually one of those things there rather than the model. So when results like this come out and it's claimed that, the usage isn't all that good, it's hardly ever the tech, it's how we're using it. So just something to think about there. But it is interesting to see that there are more of these like trials. Whether they continue or not remains to be seen. So keep an eye out for that. And flipping to the more positive side when it comes to corporations and businesses, it was really interesting to see over the last couple of weeks this ZDNet article that highlights 93% of IT leaders will implement AI agents in the next 2 years. So it surpasses most projections, as they say there. The article highlights things like, yes, data is trapped across silos. IT workloads are increasing. Integrated user experience is elusive. And this is where AI kind of stuff can help. It says here that integration is a challenge. Nearly all, aka 95% of IT leaders report 95% integration as a hurdle to implementing AI effectively, but APIs have helped. And I guess it's like, it goes down to governance and where you are allowed to have data sit. Primarily, a lot of these APIs are sending data overseas, whether it is the AI model itself or it's where you do the vectorization and storage of data. Azure helps, Google helps, AWS, I'm sure, has models where it stays here in Australia. It wasn't initially the case, but just like in anything tech, where it starts out of one country, it eventually makes it to another. It's worth working with these kind of tools and trying things out. Even things like Superbase, for example, you can have servers that are here in Sydney. You know, I'm here and a lot of my clients need stuff in here. So don't discount the fact that there are different types of services, depending on what you need, depending on the level of security that you need, that can help you get things done. Hey folks, I'm here on the other side of the screen and I'm moving over so I can actually play this YouTube video. This is from the AI Daily Brief. If you're not subscribed, definitely check it out. He goes through, and this was from a couple of weeks ago, this Y Combinator paper on their vision of the future of tech. And not surprisingly, more than, I think it was like half or like a whole ton of stuff was definitely AI based. And out of all that AI stuff, more than half was agents. So let's take a quick sneak. Okay, let's pause on this. Let's read some of these things that are being shown on screen. They talk about a secure AI app store, data centers, compliance and audit, DocuSign 2.0, very interesting kind of stuff. AI personal stuff for everyone, would love that. You know, given how we're seeing more and more anthropomorphic AI, I think of it as an intern, a very smart intern, a very capable and knowledgeable intern, but a little bit needing to be steered, you know, easily getting off the beaten track because it loses its context and you just need to keep steering it, but far better than not having one of these at all. I don't think, I certainly cannot go back to the way things were working before. So the other ones are dev tools for AI agents, and very important there. So thinking about it, right, this idea that you know, right now we're the ones that choose these tools. When in future, because we're all going to have these assistants, when it comes to the workforce and CIOs and CTOs and program managers choosing tools, they will have agents that will choose tools on their behalf. So the way that tools are built, the way that tools are advertised, even the writing that I do on things like LinkedIn and Twitter needs to be thinking about what it is that agents will look at. And when you think about agents, this whole thing, like what you see on screen here with these close buttons, these play buttons, and all that kind of stuff, if this was an app, then AI does not need to look at these things the same way that we do. So what that means is that they could just have a whole bunch of text, no images, just text on the screen, maybe a few buttons for closing, a few buttons to do stuff. But if all they've got is just text and then a database, and that database is a CRUD one, for example, where you're creating, you're reading, you're updating, you're deleting, that's CRUD, you know, like a CRM or like a, I don't know, you've got a database for investing and stuff, and then it's reading the investment things. Like if someone picks a ticker, an ETF on my ETF tracker database, then it's reading from the database and delivering something on screen for the user to see. But if all of that is just text, that's completely fine. Agents need that. In fact, agents will work better when there's a whole lot more data. There's a whole lot of things that I can see here visually, and in my human brain, I can understand because I've got background context of colors, of placement, of images, and, you know, being used to how, for example, this app YouTube works. AI would need a lot more descriptions, a lot more metadata, but it can just simply be fully just text. So when you think about UX and UI and what's advertised for agents and tools for agents, it becomes a really different world. But yeah, they talk about that. AI coding agents for hardware optimized code is something else. Vertical AI agents, startup founders with systems programming expertise, and inference AI infrastructure in the world of test time compute, and much, much more in this video. We will go to another video next. Over here again, and I'll leave you with this last one. It is the longest one, and Andre Karpathy, who we showed at the start doing those other tweets there, he has found the time to take a 3.5 hour deep dive into LLMs like ChatGPT, and he breaks it down. He's done something like this before, but giving us this gem of an insight from the great mind himself, I think is really interesting. If you've got 3.5 hours, or maybe it's a little bit less if you play it at 1.5 times speed. So up to you, but let's take a look at what he dives into here. So just jumping ahead a little bit, we'll see what he's got here. So GPT-4o, training and inference. He shows like the different chips here, talking about data centers. He talks about post-training data, hallucinations, tick tokenizer he's showing here, showing what happens in terms of like the vectorization of these models, the embeddings, basically behind the scenes, all of these different chunks of text, whether it's what you're prompting, it's what's being extracted from documents, behind the scenes, all of those words are being converted to really long strings of numbers. And when I say long strings, you might know arrays from mathematics, whether it's school or university, but imagine like something where it might have 1,500 which is typical, 1,500 different numbers. And these are not just like numbers 1, 2, 3, or like what you see on screen, really long strings of numbers. And there's 1,500 of them. And that represents, for example, a certain chunk of text. And when you're building with AI, you actually start to see some of this stuff. Like if you're working with Azure, like a vector database, you actually see some of these numbers on screen. Andre takes you through all of this and other basics of GPTs. If you want to, what you can actually do as well, and there are tools for this, you can take this address and throw it into Notebook LM and get a summary from it. Or you can go down here and look at the transcript, and it will come up on the right-hand side of the screen. 3.5 hours long will be a long transcript, but you could basically copy that out when it comes up and take all of this and throw it into a ChatGPT, a Claude, a DeepSeek even, up to you. But anyways, that has been what's been in the news over the last couple of weeks, some things that we've been building, much more on the cards, and we will see you soon for another episode when Chris is back, and have a great week. Cheers.
Woke up, tech talk, news flash, AI rolling in, future in the dash. Digital dreams, code in sync. We got the vision, never out of sync. Circuit board buzzing, worldwide. Tech trends blazing, digital fire. Innovation leading, minds on play. Tech revolution here to stay.